Well, hello and welcome to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection since 1991. Today is Wednesday, October 4th. My name is Pete Cotter. I'm your show's host, and I'm very happy today to have with me Jeff Vlaminck, who is MnDOT's District 6 engineer, which District 6 is, of course, where we are in Owatonna, Steele County, among quite a large place. And Jeff is going to bring us some information with respect to what happens in District 6 on the road side of construction, bridge side of construction, and of course it has everything to do with Highway 14 as well. So hope you'll stay tuned to that. As a reminder, we appreciate your input as to what you'd like to see on Owatonna Today. If you have any people that you would like to have maybe get some publicity or some recognition or events that need some publicity, why don't you let us know of that by shooting an email to owatonnatoday@charter.net or by giving our producer Leanne a call at 390-5751. Now we're going to take a quick break for some messages from our sponsors, and then we'll come back with Jeff, so please stay with us.
Hi, I'm Jody Voisin with the staff at Fairview Animal Medical Center, your other family doctor. Fairview Animal Medical Center is a proud supporter of the Owatonna Today Show.
Hi, I'm Betsy Linger from the Owatonna Foundation. Your generosity has made Owatonna a better place to live by benefiting our community, the arts, recreation, and education. Please consider a donation today. The Owatonna Foundation is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection, and a hearty welcome to Jeff Vlaminck from Minnesota District, MnDOT District 6 in Rochester, headquartered in Rochester.
Correct. Thanks,
However,
Pete.
Important guy to all of us here in Owatonna, Steele County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pete. I'm glad to be here today with you.
Jeff is kind of a retread. He lived here in Owatonna for a time. Jeff, tell us a little bit about your profile.
Okay, so I just finished my 40th year here with MnDOT. Spent much of that time in western Minnesota in District 8 in Willmar, but moved to District 6 in 2002 when I became the area maintenance engineer here in Owatonna, and then moved on to Rochester to take on a couple of responsibilities there. And for the last 4 years or 4.5 years, I've been the district engineer for Southeast Minnesota District 6 here.
Good. It's I guess that's kind of the plan for guys that get into the system, that hopefully get to be somewhere in close to the chair. And you got the chair.
Yeah, I got the chair. I wasn't expecting it, but
for better or worse, you've got the chair, right? Well, we've got a lot of information about what the engineering department does, MnDOT engineering department in District 6 does, and you know how you scope things and costs and all the rest of it. So why don't we get started and talk a little bit about what we're going to see here in our area over the next while.
All right. Well, maybe we start with a little bit about who we are and what District 6 is and the geographics of District 6. And we got a little slide here that shows what our map looks like. And you can see District 6 is composed of 11 counties in southeast Minnesota. We're bordered on the east by the Mississippi River, and the south by the Iowa border, and we on the west by the counties that are 35W or I-35 runs through.
I've always found it interesting that Elko is in the district, or just up to Elko.
It's just outside the district. Yeah. So we do have about 20. We got two interstates, of course. So we've got about 20 to 22% of the interstate miles in the state are in District 6, and we also have a large number of bridges. 18% of the state-owned bridges are in District 6, so which is a pretty significant number of bridges. We also include a couple of ports, and so we're multimodal. 2 ports and 11 airports, and a couple of unique things that shows that our diversity is we have an Amish buggy-way, as well as the only remaining gravel road that's on the state highway system. So.
the gravel road, I mean, I know that road because I drove it when I was in school. It was gravel then, a long time ago.
So that's in Whitewater Forest on our eastern side of our district.
Likely will always remain, or at least in the near future?
It will be for a while. It runs through 2 counties. So.
Sure. And the Amish buggy trail, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's on Highway 52 from the state line up through Harmony
Right.
to Preston. So,
Yeah. Interesting.
but
And the only one in the state.
it's the only one in the state. Well, yeah, currently there's some interest in providing some additional shoulder width in some locations for the Amish.
Sure.
So,
then we move on to some other information, data, if you will. Talking about snow and ice, the wintertime things, and
yeah, so we're not far out from winter. Winter's right around the corner, so we've been preparing for winter. We've got folks up doing some training right now, and so we have 102 snowplow trucks that are really dispatched from 23 different locations in southeast Minnesota. So we've got a number of lane miles of snow fence and native prairie areas that we help to use to help us control snow and drifting. So
yeah, just as a sidelight, the I-35 south by Ellendale, there's that grove of trees. That's a problem,
Correct.
isn't it?
yeah, it can be. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how does a construction project happen. So we'll try to talk you through that process and information that unfolds in a construction project. How do that excuse me.
Okay.
But how the information unfolds to develop a construction project in MnDOT. We'll talk generally how it will work and as funding changes and by adjusting and scaling back and or expanding a project to meet our needs. So planning ahead, we work with local government partners, stakeholders, and corporations and members of the public to produce plans to help identify future projects. Our planning office has already visited with each of the 11 county boards in the district this fall in that effort. So we've have the state transportation improvement plan, which is what we refer to as the STIP, which is the next 4 years of our plan. We consider that our contract with the public, what we're going to deliver in the next 4 years. And then beyond that, we have what we call the capital highway investment plan, which is years 5 through 10, and we call that the CHIP. And that is our plan to what will come next into the STIP as we move forward.
Sure.
So, and all of this is fiscally constrained, as you know, that we can't spend more than what we have.
Right. Right.
So the slide that was just up there showed the funding and how that funding varies throughout the 10-year period. And as you can see, that's one of the challenges that we're really stuck with is those funding fluctuations. And you can see here that it varies from 60 to 140 million over that 10-year period.
It's safe to say that the major constraint for any of the work that you do is dollars. It's money.
Right. It's money, and then trying to take care of what we have
Right.
first.
Yeah, and it's a competitive process. I mean, you're District 6 out of 8.
Correct.
So, everybody, there's 7 others of you.
There are, and we try to keep, as a state as a whole, try to keep our system somewhat equal across the state so that the pavement conditions are equivalent.
Right. So when people say, well, our project is more important than anybody else, there are all kinds of people everywhere else who are saying pretty much the same thing.
Right. We have groups across the state that are saying, spend your money in my district or on my road.
Right.
So
it's a kind of a life thing, I think, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay, and then we go.
a little bit more on the funding. We do have this little pie chart that shows the STIP and the CHIP, and it's just everything that you see in green. The chart on the left is actually what we call the STIP, and it shows the distribution of funding in its different categories. But basically, the green area you see is taking care of what we have. It's maintaining our pavements and our bridges in the condition to make them serviceable. And you can see as we move into the CHIP, remains pretty close to the same distribution. So, and one thing to note here is we have actually no dollars set aside for any expansion at this point.
Okay. And expansion really of definition as far as we're concerned means Highway 14.
Correct. So we also look at, to select our projects, we look at pavement conditions, and those pavement conditions, we have a pavement management model and a bridge information model that we use to help generate a draft list of prioritized projects. You may have seen our van out as it's collecting data on the system, and we use that to evaluate both the state and local roadways. As you saw in the previous slide, we were focused on preservation moving forward. This approach was identified in the statewide Minnesota State Highway Investment Plan to ensure that we are focusing our dollars on maintaining what we have to the best of our ability.
And it's, I think, important for you to, or for us to know too, that waiting for highways to become poor in condition is not a good thing. It would be a bad business decision if we always waited for poor conditions to arrive.
It's much more fiscally responsible, and it's cheaper in the long run to maintain a road in good condition than it is to bring a pavement out of poor condition.
Sure.
It takes a lot more investment to repair a poor road than it does to maintain a good road. So,
is it fair to say that what you're telling us about the state system is probably also consistent with what we see in counties and even locally in our communities?
I think it can, yeah, it's similarly reflected across all of our transportation system, that our infrastructure is actually degrading over time because we're not investing enough money in it to maintain the good conditions.
Right. So waiting for a city street to become in deplorable condition is probably not the wisest thing to do.
Right.
So now we've got this map, which talks about pavement conditions.
Yeah, the previous slide showed that our pavement conditions are going to go from our current condition, and on this slide you'll see that most of these roadways are in green. We do have some that are showing up in yellow and a couple in red, but this is really the current conditions that we have on our pavements in District 6. And but this is as they currently sit, but so we've got about 2% of our pavements that are in the poor category, which is a really good thing for us. However, if you look at the next slide, you will see we have something we call remaining service life. And on this slide, you can see that we have a number of roadways that are already turning up red, and that means the remaining service life is 0 to 3 years.
Right.
So they may be good today, but they're not going to remain there. So our poor pavements are going to increase from 2% to 9% over this 10-year step or chip.
We're going to stop there. We'll take a pause. We're going to do some commercial messages, and we're going to come back and start talking about some of the other things that are really important for us to know. So we're going to do that now. We'll please stand by, and we'll have some commercial messages, and we'll be right back with Jeff. So please stay with us.
Welcome to Bremer Bank. I am Jason Iberg.
And I'm Shannon Pedersen.
Bremer is a full financial services bank.
We invite you to stop by Bremer Bank and experience the Bremer difference.
You are always welcome at Bremer.
Owatonna Public Utilities, real people, real reliable, real progress. Making life a little easier day after day, taking pride in our community, listening to what you say, a voice you can talk to. We're growing with you in mind in everything we do. Owatonna Public Utilities.
Since 1988, the Owatonna Area Business Development Center has been the part of the success of many area businesses. The center leases office space and manufacturing space and offers on-site business consulting. The Owatonna Area Business Development Center is in business to help your business be a success.
Hi, I'm Rick Smith, Golf Course Superintendent of the Brooktree Golf Course. Brooktree is an 18-hole championship golf course featuring well-manicured greens, tees, and fairways. We are open to the public. I challenge you to find a better maintained golf course for the money we charge here at Brooktree. Come on out and play Brooktree, a great golf course.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection, and we're back with Jeff Vlaminck, District Engineer from District 6, MnDOT. Jeff, before we continue with some of the data things, give us a profile of your operation in District 6.
Okay, on the operations side, we've been talking a little bit here about capital, but in operations, we have about a $40 million budget for an annual budget for operations and maintenance and actually delivering these projects that I've talked about. So we have roughly 400 employees. It takes about 200 employees just to operate our snowplows and to staff those on a 24/7 basis in the wintertime.
Sure.
But then we also have a number of engineers, I think 40 plus engineers and planners that actually put together the projects and oversee the construction of those projects and technicians. So.
Right. So you have help in running around the district to meet with county engineers and city engineers and councils and
correct. Yeah, project managers and a planning department, a planning director that helps me do that. Sure. So.
And oftentimes you meet with the public, or you allow the public to come in to weigh in on.
We do. Things. We often will have open houses as we're planning a project specifically for that project. So.
Right. We in Owatonna are known as, we have a maintenance location, or what is actually Owatonna is out on 24th.
So, yeah, the majority of the staff here in Owatonna are maintenance. We also have an equipment maintenance shop here, and we have a radio shop that's based here that serves a larger area. And then we do have some business office help here as well.
Okay.
And we have a sign crew that's based out of here, and so it's a regional center for us. It's more than just plowing and sanding out of this location.
Yeah,
so.
Good. Right. So 400 people, that's a pretty good small community.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of help to do what we need to do.
And you need to have that. Yeah. So. It's important work. Safety obviously comes into play.
Yeah, safety is one of our number one priorities within the department, both for the traveling public and for our employees as well. So.
Sure. Good. Let's go back to some of the things that are going to be happening coming forward in the 10-year plan, as we'll see here on the next slide.
Okay, so our next steps for the 10-year plan involve working on scoping for our new projects for the outer years of the plan, to coordinate with our project managers and engineers on design, and to work on those new projects and to really work with the communities as we develop that plan, and to meet with our area transportation partnership for Southeast Minnesota over the next few months as well.
Okay.
So, and part of that coordination, of course, we work with our local partners. This is a map of Steele County, which we show on this map the projects that we have coming up in the next 10 years, as well as what the county and the locals have as well. So that helps us have conversations with our state aid office and with our local partners on coordinating these projects so that we can not have conflicts.
Something that comes to mind as we're talking about this locally, I know that we had some things happening up at 26th Street, but you also will engage private consulting, engineering consulting firms to help with some of the work.
Yes, we will, and part of our capital money does actually go toward delivering some of those projects, because we simply can't staff internally with enough staff to deliver our total program.
Sure. So that's on an as-needed basis, I would guess?
It is, yes.
Okay.
So, but, so and also with connecting with industry and communities, 2 weeks ago I had the privilege of going with Minnesota First Stop, and commissioners, what they call the commissioners on wheels. So commissioners from several of the agencies got on a bus, and we toured southeast Minnesota for 3 days and connected with many businesses and manufacturers throughout southeast Minnesota. And here locally, we had a chance to stop at Elkhorn in Claremont and visit with them, as well as here in Owatonna. We got to interact with Ircon and Federated Insurance Company.
What did you hear in these stops?
So I think as you know, this was all agencies, and I think an overwhelming message we heard from many of the business community was the inability to hire people and the lack of a good workforce that they can tap into. Everybody is looking for new people. But we heard a lot of good things on transportation, so I'm pleased about that. So.
Okay. But it's interesting that you would say that, because transportation plays into that. I mean, if a recruitment is an issue, how does infrastructure play into that? I mean, if someone is
people want to be able to get to work,
exactly.
right? And getting to work is to me, our transportation system is the backbone of our economy.
Sure.
Not only in getting to work, but in moving goods and services.
Exactly. So someone who lives in Faribault, they want to be able to get to Owatonna. If they choose to live in Faribault, they want to get to Owatonna on good roads in order to go to work.
Correct. Yeah.
Safe roads.
Good and safe roads, yes, and reliable trips.
Good.
So moving forward, we're in southeast Minnesota. We are, as a district, we're doing a manufacturer's perspective survey. We are working with the University of Minnesota and with MAD, which is a division of Minnesota Management and Budget, and they're helping us connect with local manufacturers. Using data from the University of Minnesota, we found that we have over 700 manufacturers in southeast Minnesota, and we simply aren't able to visit with all of them, but we sent out letters to over 200 of them and trained a number of my staff and some economic development folks, and we're going to pair up and go out and interview each of these businesses and ask them what their perspectives on transportation are and what's vital to them for their business and their keeping things moving.
When you think about that, how constant is it? I mean, you've been with the department for 40 years. I mean, are you hearing, is this pretty much the way it is? Or are there certain conventions that are always going to be with us when it comes to that?
I believe so. I think that the transportation is key, but I think in connecting with these businesses, we'll find some locations where maybe we didn't know about that are causing them problems. And maybe there's some little things that we can do that have a big impact on them and their needs.
Sure.
So,
sure.
But I think communication with businesses and open up those channels of communications, that's an important piece of visiting with these folks as well.
Exactly.
So
when we look at the investment plan, MnShip, so to say, we look at needs versus supply, supply versus demand.
Yeah, we do. And so we have a lot more needs than we do money coming in. We currently have a large gap, and when we look at MnShip over the next 20 years, we're expecting a $18 billion gap. So looking at what's in that gap, it's making all of those pavements and keeping them all in good shape. But there's other things in that gap, like the desire to make 14 a 4-lane from here to Rochester. So if we could fill that gap, it would be much easier to take care of projects like that.
Let's talk, in the time that we have remaining, which isn't much, let's talk about Highway 14 and how this all plays into the mix of, we've got about a minute if you can drive something home about that.
Well, I think the legislature did pass a bonding bill this session. They gave us about $600 million in bonding, and for our regular program projects to help us upscope some of our paving projects to make some of those last longer. so that remaining service life number can go up, but also they passed a $300 million bond for Corridors for Commerce. 14 is a project that will compete for those dollars. However, 14, that remaining gap that's in District 6 is somewhere in the neighborhood of $180 million. Part of this $300 million bonding bill, there was a number of criteria that the legislature set forth for us to follow in selecting projects for that. And so there's this geographic distribution piece. So when you think about $300 million and you think about the 14 project, what I would consider our project, it's not going to go very far when you've got you got 14 projects all throughout the state that people want their project, and those projects will compete for that $300 million. So.
Well, that's the word, and we have just gotten the word from our district engineer, Jeff Vlaminck, and with respect to Highway 14 as well as everything else that we know about here in our district. And Jeff is, I think I can say this on your behalf, that you're able to take calls or emails, and we've got your information up on the screen here. So if anyone does have an opportunity, wants to take the opportunity to get in touch with you, please feel free to do so. Thanks, for being here. It was, I think it's great. We could have spent obviously far more time to talk about this.
Yes, the time was very short, Pete. Thanks for having me.
20 minutes, it doesn't go long. Thanks again, and thank you for being with us today. We're going to take a break for some messages, and we'll be back with the close, so please stay tuned.
Cedar Valley Services, located at the corner of Rose and Grove in Owatonna, provides an array of services for people with disabilities in Steele County. CVS thanks the entire community, especially our business customers, for supporting us in Owatonna for 43 years. Thank you from CVS.
Well, welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection. We are going to have some community announcements, probably one. It'll be talking about Owatonna Foundation Week, which is starting on the 4th. We're going to be looking at today, actually, Legacy Luncheon at the Steele County History Center from 12 noon to 2 p.m. That will be luncheon. Spirit of Community Service Award, Jerry and Carol Dietz will be honored at that one. Thursday, October 5th, Professionals Breakfast at the Owatonna Arts Center from 8 a.m., invitation only. Thursday, October 5th, wine and beer tasting at the Owatonna Holiday Inn and Suites from 6:30 to 9 p.m. That one I think is open for everybody, so tickets are available, $15 per person. In advance, $20 at the door. Tickets available at Cashwise Liquor, Kottke Jewelers, and Owatonna Foundation office. Friday, October 6th, catch the Owatonna Foundation at the Huskies home football game at Rochester Century. T-shirt giveaway at halftime. And Saturday, October 7th, Saturday morning coffee at the Owatonna Foundation office from 8 a.m. till noon. Take care of all of those events, so we'll look forward to having you there. Thanks again for being with us. We're going to be back on Friday where we have Todd Hale and also Chubb's Brubecue, Juan Villarreal, a Junior Memorial Fundraiser. Look forward to having you back then. Thanks again for being with us.